We have some breaking news coming out of Racing Bulls and Red Bull Racing. Well, it's more rumours than news, but the reports are that Daniel Ricciardo has been given an ultimatum by the head of driver development at Red Bull, Helmut Marko, and could he be replaced in the coming races? Daniel Ricciardo obviously hasn't started off this season in the fashion which he would have liked, especially considering he was one of the names in the frame for that 2025 Red Bull second seat. But is this going to lead to a change? Now, we all know that Red Bull aren't afraid of making changes mid-season. We saw it last season with Nick de Vries. We've seen it before with Daniel Kvyat, with not Sergio Perez, with Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly. They're no stranger to making those changes mid-season. And are we about to see that again? Now, Daniel Ricciardo, obviously, this season is so far 0-3 to Yuki Tsunoda in every race apart from Bahrain, which he was only finished ahead due to a call by the radio. So it's sort of like Ricciardo's not been quicker in qualifying, he's not been quicker in the race. And I think it's about time we put some respect on Yuki Tsunoda's name. Now, I don't think Yuki Tsunoda is World Championship material, potentially a race winner in the future, but he's not one of these outrageous elite drivers, in my opinion. He's very good, but he's not outrageous. And he has beat everybody that Red Bull has put in front of him. And realistically, if you put Liam Lawson in that seat, which is the rumour that could happen, I think Liam Lawson would probably get beat as well. Obviously, you have the caveats. Daniel Ricciardo, the more experienced driver, probably carrying a bit more of the load when it comes to trying to develop the car. But I think with the case of Racing Bulls, they're not really in a position where that is the case. I think that's already been said that it isn't the case. So it's a very interesting development we've got coming out of Red Bull and Racing Bulls, because this, for me, I think Liam Lawson should have got this seat anyway. I think Daniel Ricciardo has had his time and he's never really hit the ground running since his return. Obviously, he had that really good race in Mexico, but other than that, he's been hit and miss. I don't think he's ever put up the performances to determine that he's better than Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously, at the start of the season, I mentioned that I thought Daniel Ricciardo would beat Yuki Tsunoda, and I personally did think that. I'm not going to lie, I thought Daniel Ricciardo would come back in. All the things coming out throughout the back end of last season, heading into this season, was that he was back in a good place, found his driving style again, had got back to where he needs to be. And then all of a sudden, the Racing Bulls car, for one, in my opinion, has been a massive letdown. It's not as good as they were making it out to be. Which, to be honest with you, I think it could be as a result of the teams kicking off about a potential Red Bull copy. I think maybe things changed late in the day with that to stop protests and things like that. But I really wanted Daniel Ricciardo to do well this season, and he just hasn't. He's not hit the ground running. Yes, we're only 3 races in, but the rumour, the report is, I'll put it on screen now, which is coming from Alex Powell, an online sports editor. He is reporting that New Zealand's Liam Lawson could be in a full-time seat as early as May after Red Bull issued a warning to Daniel Ricciardo, who drives in their subsidiary team, Racing Bulls. The Herald understands Daniel Ricciardo has been given an ultimatum by Red Bull's head of driver development, Dr. Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko, as we know, really likes Liam Lawson. He's already said that Liam Lawson will have a seat in 2025. And it then goes on to say, should Ricciardo fail to improve over the next 2 Grand Prix in Japan and China respectively, Red Bull will perform a spot that sees Liam Lawson installed in the the Racing Bulls seat for Miami and remain with the team for the rest of the season. The Herald also understands that Lawson is seen internally as Red Bull's best option as partner and world champion to Max Verstappen, with current teammate Sergio Perez's contract set to expire at the end of 2024. We also had another report. Oh no, it's the same report. So I think that just speaks volumes as to the way Red Bull and Racing Bulls are looking at this. The point of bringing in Ricciardo was to have a more experienced lineup to give them more opportunities and development of the car, but realistically, Ricciardo's not doing what is necessary of him. especially for a driver who is publicly well in the line for that Red Bull seat. For me, I'm not saying he should be scoring points every weekend because I don't quite think that's possible unless, obviously, like this weekend, you have Max Verstappen DNF, Lewis Hamilton DNF, and George Russell DNF, and Yuki Tsunoda sits in P8. So, for me, apart from Mexico, where I thought Daniel Ricciardo was excellent, I thought it was the return of the old Ricciardo. He's not done what is necessary. So shall we now get on to Liam Lawson? Here's the obvious replacement. As mentioned in that news article, he is highly thought of within the Red Bull organisation with Helmut Marko. And to be fair to you, he's highly thought of on the grid. He came in last season replacing Daniel Ricciardo at Zandvoort when Daniel Ricciardo did his injury. And I thought he put in a really good performance for a driver that I think he stepped in for qualifying. I don't even think he did FP3. He might have done a few laps in FP3, but he stepped in a wet qualifying, went through one of the most interchangeable weather races we've seen in a long, long time. And I thought he put in a really good performance. Then went on to Singapore, knocked out Max Verstappen from Q2 in the most dominant car in F1 history. And he put in some really, really good performances. And I personally did believe he would get that seat for this season. Now, when it was announced that Daniel Ricciardo was getting the seat and Yuki Tsunoda, I thought, oh, well, maybe he's going to go to Williams and replace Logan Sargent, but that didn't materialise. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Red Bull and Racing Bulls handle this. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say down in the comments down below, because this, for me, it's not a shock to my system. It's not a shock that Racing Bulls are looking at potential changes. It's not a shock that Red Bull are, again, looking to the future. They're very good at that, in my opinion. Obviously, you look at what they've done with the likes of Max Verstappen. You look at how they've got rid of a load of junior drivers in Formula 2, Formula 3, because they want the best of the best. And one of their junior drivers, Ajik Hadjar, won at the weekend. A former driver of theirs, Dennis Hauger, won as well the other day. So they're going through a very different period with their academy sort of thing, where they've got loads of high quality drivers and there's not enough seats to get them all into one. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do handle this. It's going to be really interesting to see how Ricciardo performs through Japan and China. We saw at McLaren, he sort of crumbled, realistically. When he started at McLaren and it just sort of went downhill, downhill, downhill. Is the same happening here? Maybe it is time for Daniel Ricciardo to hang up the gloves, hang up the helmet, but hopefully he can find some performance, because I do like Ricciardo, and considering he's one of the only drivers on the grid that has ever challenged Max in equal machinery, I think the current predicament he's in doesn't speak to the talent that he has. And to be honest with you, I think the longer he drives at this bang average level, the worse it's going to look for his career as a whole when he looks back on it and when people look back on it. Because Daniel Ricciardo, when he was younger, was one of the best drivers on the grid and just didn't have the machinery underneath him. And that is the disappointing thing for Daniel Ricciardo, because I do believe he was World Championship material. Keyword being was. I don't think he's there anymore. I think he's lost a lot of ability, a lot of confidence in his ability as well when moving to McLaren, and hopefully that is something which he either figures out or he decides to step away, because Liam Lawson is next in line, and I think Liam Lawson is incredible. I think Lawson has showed it as well over the past 6 races that he did. Was it 6 or 7 races he did last season? I thought he was a very good. He did outperform Yuki Tsunoda, but there's a lot of caveats to that. Yuki had a few mechanical problems and things like that, but Liam Lawson still did the job that was necessary of him, so you can't take that away from him. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.